It's Barbie, and welcome to the middle of the road. Okay, so we've got a lot to talk about. On the agenda is still the Texas floods, and then we're going to talk about the Epstein files. And so let's talk about the floods. All right, let's just kind of put all this stuff in perspective. You know, now that it's Monday and everybody's had a chance over the weekend to not interrupt their golf game or their Greek vacation. Now we're really getting to see what kind of backbone our elected officials have. So let's talk about normal floods in Texas. If you think that flooding in Texas is something new, you're wrong. If you think that flooding on the Guadalupe River, flash flooding in particular on the Guadalupe River, or any of the rivers that go through San Antonio, the Hill Country, any of those places, if you think that this is a once in 100 years kind of situation, it's not really always that way. I have been camping on that river, and this was like 72, I think it was, with my grandparents. And we were staying at the KOA campground, which was down by the river. We were staying in, yeah. And so everything was hunky dory fine until about 1 o'clock in the morning. There was notification that we needed to get out of there within 30 minutes. And I mean, now, there was no, you could see the seriousness in these people's faces. This is in 1972, I believe. 72, 73. Within 30 minutes of us getting, we were out of there in 20, but in 30 minutes, that entire place was flooded with 8 to 9 feet of water. There was no way without that notification. Now, see, that was back in the 70s, before we had all the technology that we have today. And we're going to get into that because that's also brought up a couple of other issues that I've noticed. People, well, let's stick with this one issue. Okay, this one situation. Okay, so everybody got the people that in the National Weather Service put out the warnings that there was going to be a possible flash flood. Put it out. But the problem of it is that the Trump administration fired the people who actually get that information to the leaders in the community. So there was a breakdown there. But there is even a further breakdown with the Trump administration, not this time, but last time. See, in 2017, Kerr County actually put in some kind of grant thing for $1 million so that they could set up a warning system, a siren warning system along that river to save lives. And the Trump administration turned them down. Now, that was in 1917. And here we are, what, 7 years later, 8 years later, and we've got this situation. So the Trump administration has failed this community now twice, just on that alone, that issue alone. The Texas legislature should have and could have passed legislation, I believe this last session, that would have also put out emergency warning systems, considering that Texas is getting more tornadoes, Texas is getting hit harder with storms. They needed these warning systems out there, and they didn't vote on it. They decided it really wasn't worth it. Saving the lives of your citizens, your constituents, was not worth the money, even though we have billions sitting in the bank, maybe trillions, God knows. Well, no, probably billions because they probably stole the rest of it. But let's just say billions. We've got billions sitting in the bank. We could have done that. We could have done it. We could have bought in bulk. Always seems to get everybody a discount if you buy in bulk. So that's the second thing. Besides this flip-flopping bullshit that you see with Abbott and with Patrick and, oh, we're so concerned. If you were so concerned, you would have spent the money on that instead of trying to build some stupid ass freaking wall on the border. All that money he's wasted, Abbott and Patrick and Paxton, all that money that they've wasted on this damn border and all the legislature. I'm not going to leave their asses out. The Republican legislature in the state of Texas has totally screwed over their people. Totally screwed over their people. You could have passed it. You could have passed legislation for this kind of thing. You know that these things are happening. You know it because it may not happen to your house, but it damn sure happened to your cousin's house, or it happened to your uncle's house, or it happened to your best friend's mama's house. You know it. Y'all could have done something. So the state is also responsible. Now, Kerr County. Let's talk about Kerr County. Because we've already gone to the national level. We know where they screwed up. We've already seen the state level where they screwed up. Now let's talk about Kerr County. Kerr County could have put it out there that they really, really, really needed this system. And these people get taxed enough with Texas taxes that what the hell is maybe we can save some lives. Yeah, it might be worth it. Maybe we don't repave the streets in that nice neighborhood and we take that money and we spend that money on saving lives of the people that come and bring their money to our shops and our restaurants. Think about that. You get money from the people that just died. They go to your grocery stores. They buy ice. They buy camping equipment, extra hooks for fishing and stuff like that. Yeah. So, okay. Y'all, however, if you didn't have that kind of system, then you should have, at emergency management, should have had some other kind of system set up. There needed to be a telephone list like they used to have back in the 60s and the 70s, whenever shit would hit the fan and you couldn't reach people in the middle of the night for whatever reason, mainly because everybody was sleeping and the television, they weren't watching TV. And so there was telephone calls. There were telephone banks that people had set up in these areas. Y'all couldn't have done that. The sheriff's department couldn't have gotten on the phone and called Mary Jo and said, Mary Jo, I need you to call everybody you know along the river and tell them to get uphill now. You couldn't have done that. Y'all couldn't have had some kind of redundant system instead of just thinking that everything was always going to blast out over a cell phone. There was a storm that came up. My great grandparents had about 180 acres up around Madisonville, which was absolutely beautiful. It was a great place to spend time as a child. Loved my summers there. Had little dirt rings and everything. But there was one summer evening where my cousins and I, we had spent that whole week working on a treehouse. Now, mind you, we're what? 9, 7, and maybe a 14 and 16-year-old. All girls, because that's all we had in our family for 36 years. Anyway, we built this treehouse. It had a roof on it. It had windows. I mean, it was double decker, the whole 9 yards. It was decked. We even found old carpet. We put that in there so that we had something cushy. And we decided that we were going to spend the night in that treehouse. Well, about 1 o'clock in the morning, my great grandpa came up to the house and he told us that we needed to get out of that house as quick as possible and get up to the main house. And that there was a storm coming. That the sheriff had came by the house, honked the horn, put the siren on until somebody came out there to the gate, said, y'all need to buckle down. There's a bad storm heading this way. Then he cruised down to the next house, did the same thing there, trying to get people warned. This was back during the 60s. And so they got us out of the field. They got us back up to the house, which was, probably half a mile away. And the next day, our tree house was scattered across that field. You see how having a phone call system or some kind of other redundant system than just expecting that all of this is going to work the way that you thought it did? It didn't work so well, did it? Think community. Think, what if this goes down? What if that goes down? But y'all didn't do it. Y'all are just happy to take the money, though. Y'all are all getting paid really good. I know city planners and emergency management people and all the y'all make decent money because y'all are supposed to have y'all shit together. Didn't look like it this time, did it? No, it didn't. So, so that's the first thing I wanted to talk about was where does the responsibility lie? And I think the responsibility lies a lot of places. Oh, and let me just, you know what? I'm not even going to talk about that. I'll make a different film about that one. Let me just put this in here. We'll cover Epstein in the next video. Everybody keeps saying, oh, FEMA's on the ground. FEMA's doing blah, 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 blah. Bullshit. Bullshit. I have been through enough natural disasters, and not as someone who goes to them. I grew up on the Gulf Coast. My son, my youngest son, was nearly, if he had been a girl, was nearly named Alicia because of Hurricane Alicia, because it was that bad. I watched trees that were probably about 8 feet around just gently get picked up and laid over as if the hand of God was just plucking it and flipping it over. Nearly saw the windows blown out of my apartment. It was bad. But, oh, and then let's see. Oh, I also went through Ike. Decided to leave my apartment. We were in Seabrook at the time. I nearly stayed, but that Friday morning, because Category 2, I'm thinking, oh, hell, I've been through this before. I can do this again. This is no big deal, right? I kind of know what to expect. But when Friday morning came and I saw the water coming over the seawall, I had not seen that. Not 12 hours prior to the thing hitting. And I knew then that things were going to get bad. And so we did leave. We went across town on the other side of Houston. And then I was not allowed back into my apartment for 5 days. So I was also living in California during the big San Francisco, Oakland earthquake, the Loma Prieta. I got to experience that. And then when I moved to Colorado, I got my first blizzard, the blizzard of 97, where I was stuck in my house for 5 days because even though I shoveled my driveway because I was bored and didn't have anything else to do, I couldn't get my car out in the street because the street was 4-5 feet deep in snow. 10 feet trying to get out of the neighborhood because they had to put an emergency thing in and they had to bring in earth movers to do that. So I know what FEMA's supposed to look like. I know what natural disasters are supposed to look like. And FEMA's not it, this one. And what we have expected in the past is not it. Everybody says, well, they bring in all these nonprofit, blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, you know what? The Red Cross has come in handy during this stuff. They work hand in hand with FEMA. And so does the Salvation Army. But hand in hand with FEMA. There's no big trucks out there for FEMA. There's no truck saying, hey, you can come and get emergency funds here. You know. And the reason why you need those emergency funds is because your bank may be down. You may be in a small town bank that, you know, you can't get to because they're whatever. You may not have access to money. Or, here's the more important thing, most people live paycheck to paycheck. And when something like this happens, you all of a sudden need gasoline for a generator. You need gasoline for extra. This is not on top of everything else. This is extra. Ice becomes expensive. Everything becomes, that's if you can even get to the grocery store that you need to get to. That's if you can get there. So there's all these different things that the nonprofit, and God bless HEB, and HEB stands for Harold E. Butts. That was the gentleman's name who started the grocery store in Kerrville, Texas, and they're headquartered in San Antonio. And the absolute best store ever. Have fabulous foods. Their products are always great. Their meat is, I don't like buying anybody else's meat. HEB is my store. They are volunteering. They are sending in trucks. FEMA's not sending in trucks. HEB is giving to the community. The Cajun Navy has had to call in for extra volunteers. The Cajun Navy is a big organization. Now, like I said on Threads earlier today, this isn't a situation like Houston. When Houston flooded with Harvey, that was millions and millions and millions of people being stuck in their homes and getting flooded out of their homes and not knowing what the hell was going on. You know, this is a smaller town. This is a river, you know, and yet they're still having to, well, hang on a second. If all the help that the government, Kristi Noem, said was going to be there, was there, they wouldn't be needing these extra services. Nobody also wants to talk about how Mexico sent their rescuers in to help. Their government helped us. Our government's not helping us, but Mexico has sent their people in to help us. God bless them. So don't tell me about how FEMA's there. FEMA's not there. It is not the same situation. And every Republican that voted for this stuff, you better bet the phone calls are going to get worse. The phone calls are going to get worse. People are fed up. You let a hurricane hit. you let a Cat 5 or even let's take Ike. Ike was only a Cat 2, but it had a 28-foot storm surge. Killed how many people? And that was with warning. See? Until you've lived it, y'all just need to sit down and be quiet on some of y'all. I think y'all, well, you'll know who I'm talking about. So, anyway, you know, my heart has been heavy all weekend because I know what those parents are going through. I don't care. I'm just going to be honest about everything. My daughter died when she was 4.5 months old from SIDS. And then a year and a half ago, I lost my grandson. So, my heart goes out to you because I know that emptiness and I know that hole. And I know you don't believe this, but you will look at all of this differently one day. It won't hurt as bad. And you'll feel differently. You feel them in other ways. Anyway, God bless those families. That's all I have to say. With peace and comfort. I will say this one last thing real quick. And I don't think that this is something that anybody else has brought up yet. The psychological damage that has been done to these children and to these people that had to go through that had to listen in the pitch dark of the night at that raging water and those screams of people begging for help, children screaming and begging for help, seeing that cabin go by with those people in that cabin. The horror of that is devastating. And I don't think that anybody understands yet how that is going to impact these people. So I think we all need to watch our rescuers. definitely stand up and uphold your neighbor who had to see all that, had to hear it, and not be able to do anything. That's going to be hard. And that's just beginning. So, anyway, y'all take care. I'll talk to you soon. Peace out. Bye.